Harold Bennett lived in one of the grandest houses in town, a mansion perched on the hill that overlooked a small village below. It was a home most people only saw from a distance, its iron gates and towering columns making it feel more like a museum than a place someone actually lived. Yet, behind those tall windows and vast rooms, Harold spent his days in silence. The house, once filled with laughter, music, and the clinking of dinnerware, was now a quiet museum of memories. He hadn't always been alone. Years ago, Harold had been the proud head of a thriving company, a father, a husband, a man of ambition. He had built everything from the ground up, worked through long nights, missed vacations, skipped holidays, and told himself it was all for his family. But life has a cruel way of taking its own path, regardless of our plans. His wife, Eleanor, had been the softening presence in his otherwise rigid world. She reminded him to come home early sometimes, to attend school plays, to take breaks and breathe, and he always promised her, "Just one more year, then I'll slow down." That year never came. Eleanor passed away unexpectedly one winter night, just before Christmas, from complications during a surgery. Harold hadn't even been there. He had been closing a deal in another state, sitting in a luxurious hotel room when he got the call. That phone call had changed everything. Their son David had been 25 then. He blamed Harold, not just for not being there, but for always being absent in spirit, even when physically present. Words had been exchanged that night, angry, sharp, words that left scars deeper than Harold had anticipated. David stopped visiting, stopped calling, stopped caring. Harold tried, in his own way, to reach out. Cards, gifts, checks sent through the mail, all were returned, he understood. Maybe, deep down, he even believed he deserved it. Over the years, he stopped trying. The mansion grew quieter with each passing season. Holidays became just dates. On the calendar, birthdays came and went. Eventually, Harold lost track of the last time he had spoken to anyone beyond his gardener or the man who delivered groceries. The irony was cruel. He had everything, a fortune, a sprawling estate, closets full of fine suits and shoes that never wore out. But his phone never rang. His dinner table, carved from Italian oak and capable of seating 20, had not held a single meal in years. His walls were lined with art he couldn't name anymore. He had built an empire, but in the process had dismantled the parts of life that made it worth building in the first place. Every Christmas since Eleanor's death felt like a punishment. He couldn't bring himself to put up decorations. The house remained dark, even as the entire town lit up with wreaths and twinkling lights. Children would pass his house without stopping. Parents told them stories about the grumpy old man on the hill. He wasn't angry at them. He understood. He had built walls around himself, and they held strong. This Christmas Eve was no different. The snow had started to fall early, a soft blanket covering the rooftops and sidewalks in white. He sat in his study, staring out the window, holding a glass of untouched brandy in one hand. The room smelled faintly of wood polish and old books. He wore the same cardigan Eleanor had gifted him 20 years ago. It was too warm for it inside, but he liked how it still smelled faintly of lavender, her favorite. He didn't expect anyone. No one ever came. That's why he was startled when the doorbell rang. At first, he thought he had imagined it. Maybe the wind? But then it rang again, soft, timid, but real. He got up slowly, cane in hand, and shuffled toward the front door. When he opened it, a rush of cold air greeted him, along with a small voice. "Hi, Mr. Bennett." Standing before him was a young girl, no older than 10, bundled in a red scarf and a pair of oversized mittens. Her cheeks were flushed from the cold, and snowflakes clung to her knit hat. She had the kind of smile that could warm up the frostest night. "I live down the street," she said. "My name's Lily. My mom and I were wondering if you'd like to come to our house for Christmas dinner?" Harold blinked. He didn't know what to say. He looked past her and saw a woman, her mother, standing a few feet behind, offering a gentle nod and wave. The invitation was real? This wasn't a joke? This wasn't pity? The little girl wasn't asking because she wanted something. She just, wanted him there, asterisk, he stammered. You want me to come? Asterisk, she nodded. We don't have much, but Mom says Christmas is better when nobody eats alone. Asterisk, Harold swallowed hard. It had been so long since someone had looked at him like that, without fear or resentment or judgment. Just kindness. He looked down at her mittens, one of which was unraveling at the thumb. He looked at the plastic bag in her hand that held a small container of cranberry sauce. This girl, who probably didn't have a tenth of what he had, was offering him everything. Asterisk, he looked behind him at the dark house, then back at her. Let me get my coat, he said quietly. Asterisk, when he walked into their home, a small rented flat just 2 blocks down, the scent of roasted chicken, garlic, and freshly baked bread hit him instantly. The space was warm, lived in, full of mismatched chairs and paper snowflakes taped to the windows. On the table were a few wrapped gifts, likely handmade. A string of colored lights blinked on the wall, and a radio played soft Christmas music. In the background, asterisk, he took a seat at the table, awkward at first, unsure where to put his hands or how to join in. But Lily chattered away, telling him about school and how she had made her mother a snow globe from a pickle jar. Her mom, quiet and gentle, offered him a plate of food and a soft smile. They didn't ask about his money. They didn't ask why he was alone. They just welcomed him. Asterisk, halfway through dinner, something inside Harold gave way. It wasn't dramatic. It started with a tremble in his hands, then a crack in his voice as he tried to thank them. He paused, tried again. But the words caught. The tears came silently, first one, then another, until his face was streaked with them. Lily reached out and gently held his hand. He whispered, "Thank you for seeing me." It had been years since anyone had. Lily had always lived in the small, weathered apartment at the edge of the village with her mother. Their life was quiet and modest, marked by second-hand clothes, hand-me-down toys, and meals that had to be stretched to last through the week. Her mother worked long hours at the bakery, often leaving before sunrise and returning only after dark. Even so, their home was always filled with warmth. Not the kind that came from a furnace, theirs broke down more often than it worked, but the kind that lived in gestures, smiles, and soft words shared at the dinner table. There was no luxury, but there was love, and for Lily, that was enough. Asterisk, Lily was the kind of child who noticed things most others ignored. She saw the old man across the street who checked his mailbox every morning at the same time, though nothing ever arrived. She noticed when the cashier at the local store looked extra tired, and she'd quietly hand her a paper flower she had folded from candy wrappers. Lily's heart was tuned toward others, especially the lonely. Her mother often said, "We don't have a lot, sweetie, but we always have enough to be kind." Asterisk, it was this very spirit that shaped Lily's view of the world. While other children looked forward to presents on Christmas, Lily looked forward to giving. She'd draw cards with crayons and gift them to neighbors, sneak cookies into people's mailboxes, and leave little notes on windshields that said things like, "You're special," or "Wishing you a cozy Christmas." Her acts were small, but heartfelt. She didn't seek attention. She simply believed that no one should feel forgotten, especially during Christmas. Asterisk, that year, Christmas came with biting winds and a thicker blanket of snow than usual. The town glowed with lights, and windows flickered with the warm hue of candles and festive decorations. But Lily noticed something that tugged at her heart. At the top of the hill, the large mansion, Mr. Bennet's home, was dark and lifeless as it had been for years. Most people in town called him a recluse, some called him cold, and others simply ignored him altogether. There were rumors, of course, that he was once a powerful businessman, that he had a son he hadn't seen in years, that he hadn't celebrated Christmas since his wife died. But to Lily he was simply Mr. Bennet, the man who always stood behind his window, watching the world go by without ever stepping into it. Asterisk, that afternoon, as Lily and her mother finished setting the table for their simple dinner, roast chicken, a pot of mashed potatoes, and a store-brand apple pie, she turned to the window and looked out at the snow-covered hill. Her mother was lighting a candle, humming softly, when Lily spoke. Asterisk, "Mom, do you think Mr. Bennet has anyone to eat with tonight?" Asterisk, her mother paused. The question carried a weight she felt in her chest. She turned to Lily and said gently, I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe not. Asterisk, Lily frowned. That's not fair. No one should eat alone on Christmas. Asterisk, her mother nodded. I agree, but well, he might not want to. Asterisk, Lily looked down at her little paper place cards. She had written each name in her best handwriting. Mom, Lily, and a third card that read simply, Guest? Asterisk, I. Made an extra one. Just in case, she whispered. Asterisk, her mother looked at her for a moment, then smiled. That tired but proud kind of smile only mothers have. If you want to invite him, we'll make room. Asterisk, without hesitation, Lily bundled herself up in her red scarf and mittens. Her boots were too tight, pinching her toes, but she didn't care. She grabbed the little container of cranberry sauce they had saved for a special touch and walked out into the snow. The wind bit at her cheeks, and the snow crunched under her feet as she made her way up the hill. The mansion loomed above her, silent and still, its iron gate half buried in snow. Asterisk, when she reached the front step, she paused. She had never been so close to Mr. Bennet's house. Up close, it didn't feel grand, it felt empty. She rang the bell once, then waited, holding the cranberry sauce in both hands. Asterisk, inside. Mr. Bennet sat in his study, lost in thought, the house echoing with silence. When the doorbell rang, he almost didn't believe it. No one visited him. Curious and slightly wary, he rose from his chair and made his way to the door. Asterisk, he opened it and saw her, a small girl with snow-dusted hair, holding a container of sauce and wearing the most sincere smile he had seen in decades. Asterisk, hi. Mr. Bennet, she said, as if they were old friends. My mom and I are having Christmas dinner. It's not fancy, but we'd love it if you came. Asterisk, the moment was strange, surreal. No one had spoken to him like that in years. No one had looked at him with that kind of openness. He looked at the cranberry sauce, then back at her, trying to understand why she would care, but she wasn't fidgeting, wasn't nervous. She was simply waiting, hopeful. Asterisk, you want me to join you? He asked slowly. Asterisk, she nodded. We made extra. I even made a place card with your name. Asterisk, that sentence hit him like a soft punch to the chest. A place card. Someone had made space for him, not as a favor, not out of obligation, but because they wanted him there. He felt something stir in him, something buried under years of cold silence. Asterisk, I'll get my coat, he said. Asterisk, as they walked back to her home. Lily talked the entire way, telling him about the paper snowflakes she had made, how she helped her mom with the pie, and how her cat once tried to climb the Christmas tree. Mr. Bennet listened, quietly at first, but then with the kind of attention that came from genuine interest. Her voice, high and cheerful, broke the heavy quiet that had lived in him for so long. Asterisk, when they arrived, Lily held the door for him and led him inside. The apartment was small, warm, and a bit cluttered, but it felt like something he hadn't felt in years, alive. The table was set, candles flickering, and a soft carol played on the radio. Her mother welcomed him with a kind smile and offered him a seat. He saw the place card, neatly written, Mr. Bennet. Asterisk, he sat down and, for the first time in what felt like centuries, he didn't feel like a ghost. Asterisk, they passed dishes, told stories, and laughed. Lily made him a paper crown from a napkin and insisted he wear it. He did. Her mother shared stories of her own childhood Christmases, and Mr. Bennet found himself speaking too, slowly at first, then more freely. He spoke of his wife, his regrets, his loneliness, though not in heavy words. Just pieces gently placed between bites of food and cups of warm tea. Asterisk, he didn't realize when the tears began, only that they were falling, soft and silent, down his cheeks. Lily saw them first, and without a word, reached out and held his hand under the table. Her small fingers wrapped around his old, weathered ones, and he looked at her. Asterisk, he didn't say thank you out loud. He didn't need to. She already knew. Asterisk.